Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurlamilitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Anapeta Apeta Krityam Rapaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taro Benedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshay Kiptashta Kamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Tave Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tam Nainam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Okay, so we're going to continue and we hear something about pastimes of Sri Ram and something about the anarthas and things. I wanted to continue hearing Lord Ram, and I looked up on Pure Bhakti for some lectures, and I came across this one. But actually, this lecture has a lot about the anarthas and how to understand them, how to avoid them. And I thought, wow, this is really appropriate. This lecture was given by Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana in 2007 in Vrindavan at Govardhan at the time of Anukut, right? Anukut, where we celebrate and take so many wonderful preparations in worship of Sri Giriraj. So, we're going to begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalita Bhavishta Om Vishnupad Asta Tarsat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalita Bhavishta Om Vishnupad Asta Tarsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj and all our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga, all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Right, so we've been reading Bhajan Hasya, and we are in chapter 2, which is about Anartha Nivriti. We were in the midst of hearing the verses of Srila Rupa Goswami. First and second verse we heard about controlling the senses, avoiding certain bad tendencies, and today we were going to hear about the good things to do, but stumbling on this lecture which discusses all these things, I thought, oh, this is very good, because this will review and give us a little bit more appreciation and context and understanding of this topic. So understand that this was a lecture, as I said, given in 2007, November, in Vrindavan, at Govardhan, actually. And after discussing, doing Go Puja and so many other things that we do, he gave this lecture. And he begins by saying, yesterday we discussed the 4 types of anarthas and the 4 subdivisions of those anarthas. In total, 16 types of anarthas. We remember that, right? We did that also. If we desire to perform bhajan, these anarthas must be removed in order that we may be able to chant Harinam in a pure way. So there's no question. Either anarthas are gone or we just flounder on this same level. We have to push. Right? We must give up those activities that are unfavorable to bhakti, like the 6 pushings, the urges of speech, mind, anger, tongue, belly, and genitals. And Sarup Brahm, mistaken identity, Hridoi Dolbalya, weakness of heart, Asat Trishna, taste for material enjoyment, and Aparad, offense. All the anarthas are unfavorable for one's attainment of bhakti. The more we are free from them, the more our bhajan will shine brilliantly. So, he then says, Srila Rupa Goswami had stated in Sri Upadesh Amrita, verse 1, remember 2 days ago, or 3 days, because we did Lord Ram, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Kroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udara Pasta Vegam, Etan Veganyo Vishaheta Dira, Sarvam Apimam Pritivim Nasishat. A sober and intelligent person, first of all, controls his speech. He will not speak simply whatever comes into his mind, for that is a big anartha. One's power of speech, one's words, should only be used to speak harikatha. Okay. Manovega, in the above-mentioned verse, means the pushing of the mind. To control the mind is very difficult. It is easier to control the wind. He's paraphrasing Bhagavad Gita there. Arjuna says that, right? Oh, my dear Krishna, to control the mind. What is it? Chanchala himana Krishna, right? It's very restless, more difficult to control than the wind. And you know that when you're sitting chanting, doing something, and the mind is just like this onslaught. It's like being in some room with big loudspeakers and giant TV screens everywhere, and you're just being assaulted. Right? This is the mind, the sum of all of our experiences in this world, not just in this life, but in previous lives. All these impressions just tormenting us, right? Only by engaging in devotion to the Supreme Lord and chanting His names is it possible to control the mind. It is not possible by any other method. You can't just sit still and try to wish everything out of the mind. That's not possible in the Kali Yuga. Krodha means anger. Meaning anger is the root cause of all anarthas, or unwanted habits and thoughts. As soon as one becomes angry, his intelligence is destroyed, and he becomes bewildered about what is to be done and what is not to be done. Right, because you lose all sense of control. All you are, you're just bound up in this emotion. And oftentimes you're feeling very justified in that emotion. Yeah, oh well, but they did this, they said that. Yeah, they may have, right? And it may have been wrong, it may have been inappropriate, but the anger takes over your own self-control. A self-realized soul is equipoised. When we read 7th canto, there's a question by Yudhishthir about, it's answered in a dialogue, in a pastime with Yudhishthir and Narad Muni, but it's about, does Krishna show favor to the devotees over the demons? Because it seems he takes their side in different kinds of situations where the demons are doing so many terrible things, and the devotees have to fight them back, and sometimes Krishna will take their side or help them. And it said, no, he actually is equally disposed to everyone, right? Sama, to everyone. Samaham sarva bhuteshu, right? Krishna says, I'm equally disposed to everyone. But in punishing the demons, he's showing favor to them by purifying them of the reactions to terrible sinful activities, attacking his devotees, hurting innocent people. Jai Shri Shri Radha Radha Raman Juk Ki Jai, Jai Shri Mati Lalita, Shrimati Vishaka, Shri Rupa Manjari, Shri Lati Manjari, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev Manjari. And in his dealings, because sometimes, he seems to be fighting, chopping off their heads, doing different things, but it's not because of what they say about him, like if they insult him or they want to attack him, because Krishna can't be touched by anything of this material world. He has no mundane ego to be affected by the materialistic activities of worldly people, right? And so we also sing a song, Akroda Paramananda Nityananda Roy, Abhimana Shunya Nitai, right? That Nityananda also, he has no material ego, so whatever he's doing, no matter what people would do, he's always favorably and beneficially disposed to them. That doesn't mean that you just always ignore the trepidations, the bad behavior, the bad speech of other people, but you're not personally affected by it. You don't have to become personally angry by it, right? Because that will distort your intelligence. You become unclear about what's to be done and what's not to be done. And I can think of situations in my own past, in devotional dealings, and sometimes in the not so distant past, where allowing anger to influence one's decision making, it's not always so clear, not appropriate, right? You don't make the right choice. So when one becomes angry, the intelligence is destroyed and you become bewildered about what is to be done and what is not to be done. Doesn't mean you overlook bad activities of others, but you don't allow it to affect you in that way. Jiva Vega in the above verse means the pushing of the tongue. Right? The tongue is always very greedy. It always wants to taste more and more new things. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, as long as the tongue is running here and there to taste many things, one cannot attain Sri Krishna. He also warned, you should very carefully control this urge of the tongue. Do not eat opulent foods and do not wear luxurious clothing. And at all times be engaged in chanting the Lord's holy names. Right, simple, right? Simple living, high thinking. And ultimately, the best way to learn to control the tongue is obviously chanting. He's going to go on, so don't let me jump over here. There are two types of pushing of the tongue. To eat very nice, palatable foods, and to speak without control. The uncontrolled tongue is the cause of many anarthas. Draupadi once insulted Duryodhana by saying, like father, like son. As the father is blind, the son is also blind. Duryodhana became very angry at her words and determined to take revenge. Later, he tried to strip her naked in a large assembly. This became the cause of the great battle of Kurukshetra, the war described in the Mahabharata, and this was caused by the words of Draupadi, because they had Yudhishthira had his own palace in Indraprastha, and it had been constructed by Mayadanava, the architect and mystic person for the demons, but he owed them a debt, the Pandavas a debt, so he did that. And there were many illusions around the palace, like there were little pools of water, and you couldn't tell if it was water or if it was a mirror. And I don't know if when you were a kid if they ever had this, but they had these things called fun houses, the house of mirrors. And you go into this big old building, and there's all these little corridors, and they have mirrors and clear glass. And it's a little dark, so you really can't tell. And sometimes you walk straight into glass, bonk, and sometimes you walk into mirrors. You really can't tell what's going on, just bonk, 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 bonk. So a palace was like that. And he stepped onto what he thought was solid land, and he fell into a pond. And Draupadi laughed at him and said that. Blind father, because Dhritarashtra was blind son. the pride of a Kshatriya. Never cross a real Kshatriya like that. He became enraged. Remember when Narad Muni was astonished when he saw little Dhruva, although he was only 5 years old, his anger was so great at the insults of his stepmother that he was prepared to leave the palace, go into the forest all alone to do austerities to get what he wanted. Right? And he said, just see the anger, determination of the Kshatriyas. So be careful what you say to people, right? Better not to insult people. So eating too much opulently and speaking bad words. Although Srila Prabhupada used to always say controlling the tongue means also just to eat Krishna Prasad. So especially in the beginning, it may not be, we have so many desires and we give so many things up. The only thing left is delicious prasad. Mahaprabhu also, he ate very simply, but he also ate very delicious prasad when it was offered by his devotees. But he had a different conception when he tasted it. There's a beautiful story in the Antya Lila where he is tasting some kheer, some sweet rice. And he said, what is this marvelous taste? He said, somehow or other, I know what condensed milk tastes like. I know what rice tastes like. I know pepper and camphor, all these ingredients in sugar. But there's something more beyond all these things, beyond what it appeared to be made of. And he says, it can only be Ardhanamrita, that this has been offered to Sri Krishna, our divine Lord. He has tasted it, and therefore the taste of his own lips has infused this beautiful kheer, Ardhanamrita. So if you really want to get the benefit of taking prasad, you take it with that attempt to develop that deeper mentality. This has been offered to Krishna. This is sacred. I'm engaged in prasad seva here. When I'm cooking, when I'm serving it, when I'm eating it, I'm serving the prasad, not just devouring it like a dog, just and just not even chewing, just more, no, with honor. I've seen, there's films of Srila Prabhupada eating, and he's very meditative when he's eating. Most of the films he's eating alone, right? And I've seen Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj eating in an assembly and eating by himself, and he's also very deliberate, very meditative, right? So whether it's opulent or not, it's Krishna Prasad, and it can satisfy us in the deepest way. And the more we chant and the more we speak Krishna Katha, the more our minds and hearts become purified, and the more we relish these activities and automatically default to that function of the tongue, right? Because atak Sri Krishna namadi nabhavad grayam indriyai sevan mukhehi jivadao swayameva sparatyado. The materialistic tongue can't chant Shuddhanam, can't chant pure name. But when you engage the tongue in the service of Sri Krishna, it becomes purified, it becomes transcendental. And then you can chant Sri Nam. Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam, right? Engaging all the senses in the service of the master of the senses. So he says a similar situation occurred in the transcendental pastimes of Srimati Sita Devi. Ravana sent Marichi, a mystical personality, who took on the form of a golden deer, to the forest where Sri Ramachandra was residing, along with Sita and Lakshman during his exile. Sita Devi saw the deer and asked Lord Ramachandra to catch it and bring it to her. Lord Ramachandra went after the deer and shot it with his arrow. As the deer lay dying, he imitated the voice of Lord Ramachandra and called out, Lakshman, Lakshman. We heard this yesterday, right? It's pastime. Hearing this, hearing the cry for help and thinking it to truly be coming from Lord Ramachandra, Sita Devi said to Lakshman, "Your brother Ramachandra is in trouble. Go to him quickly." Lakshman replied, "No, my brother has instructed me to stay here and protect you." Sita then angrily accused Lakshman, "Oh, you are thinking that if Ram is dead, then you are free to marry me." Very harsh words. There's a saying in English, "Hell hath no fury, like the wrath of a woman scorned." The women can just slice and dice you with their sharp words. Yeah, very. And so hearing this, Lakshman clasped his hands over his ears and said, "What are you saying? I cannot tolerate such harsh words. Of course I will go. Let all auspiciousness be with you." After making arrangements to protect Sita Devi, Lakshman then left to find Ramachandra. Left alone, Sita Devi was kidnapped by Ravan. She suffered much at his hands, and the result was another big war. Right. So men and women have different qualities, both of which, when employed properly, can be used in a very nice way for Krishna Seva. But both men and women also have weaknesses, right, that can be exploited by the material nature. And women are generally more inclined towards emotional expression, being dictated by emotion. When that emotion is spiritual, they can have very quickly natural affection and devotion to Sri Guru, to the deities, to all of their seva. Nicely engaged. But also, in decision-making, it can be governed by emotion. And emotion, material emotion, you can make the wrong decisions, right? Men, on the other hand, are very logical. They make decisions based on thought and reason, but sometimes that can make them devoid of soft-heartedness and emotion, which is very helpful for bhakti, and so they can be a little hard-hearted sometimes. Actually, both can be hard-hearted, but from different angles. As long as we're covered by the material side, that is unfavorable. So like when the scriptures say, or Srila Prabhupada says, women are less intelligent, he means the intelligence of reason and analysis, more inclined to emotion. Didn't say they're less qualified for bhakti, but emotion can help you make the wrong decisions a lot. And on the other hand, reason can also be very cold and devoid of the qualities of compassion, sympathy, empathy, like that. So until we purify our emotions, then all of our expressions, and here we're hearing about how the tongue can come out of control. So he says, after reciting this story of both Lakshman and Sita and Draupadi and Dhritarashtra, he says, do not show anger. I've seen Gurudev chastise people, and Srila Prabhupada also, I've heard many stories, chastising people who show anger to each other, to their god brothers and god sisters. It can also be an offense, right? So, Udara Vega, in this verse, means pushing of the belly. If we eat until we are full to the neck, the belly will become so swelled that we'll have to sleep. Srila Prabhupada would have us tell us to eat till filled to the neck, but then he would send us out on Sankirtan and big kirtan, and we had young bodies, in their 20s. And so, right, so don't think that this is contradictory instruction. Instruction to the disciple according to their eligibility, right? So, overeating will make you want to sleep. You cannot control the senses if you eat too much. Everything that is inauspicious for bhakti will then manifest in you, just because of eating more than necessary. So more than necessary, what is the necessity? Strictly speaking, it's just your health, how much you need to get along. But as you're progressing in bhakti, it also means as much as you need to satisfy the urges of the senses so that you're not distracted and always thinking, oh, I wish I'd eaten more. What's the benefit of that? You leave the table, but, your mind is always thinking of that cup of sweet rice that you left there. And you're thinking all day long. And then, at a different time when you've already eaten, you go back and drink it again. You can lose your regulation. Just eat till you're satisfied. Over time, you will control the senses appropriately, right? As you grow, as you advance. But taking prasad, that's the best way to control the tongue. But if you always eating more than necessary, what will happen? You just get fat and lazy, right? And sick. This verse, beginning with Vacho Vegam, teaches us that we must give up these things which are not favorable for bhakti. Don't speak about anything that is not favorable for bhakti. Only speak about the Supreme Lord and those personalities who are related with him. Glorify the Vaishnavas. Only discuss these things. Right? So then he says, Manovega means pushing of the mind. If the mind's desires are not fulfilled, that mind can be the cause of many troubles. By hearing and meditating on the pastimes of Sri Krishna and speaking Harikatha, the pushing of the mind can be controlled because there's a great satisfaction in Harikatha, heard from appropriate sources, right? Spoken as you have heard from those sources. It gives great satisfaction to the speaker and to the listeners, right? And when regularly done, what is it? What's the verse? It'll come to me. Now I'm just thinking the last line. Shraddha Ratir Bhakti, Shraddha Ratir Bhakti Anukramishati. What is that? Anyway, it means in English, by associating and hearing from great personalities this beautiful Harikatha, it's very pleasing to the heart, right? And to the self. And by that, one automatically develops first faith, and that means real faith, right? Like not lokik shraddha, not ordinary faith, but transcendental shraddha, based on scripture, based on some realization. And then rati, one will actually evolve into the stage of bhav, and then ultimately bhakti, which means prema bhakti, right? Oh, God. Anyway, I'll read on and it'll pop in my mind. How terrible. So, control the pushing of the tongue by serving and respecting the Supreme Lord's prasadam and the Mahaprasadam of his devotees. We should accept this Mahaprasadam in an appropriate and careful manner, not to greedily fill the belly. To remind ourselves of this, we sing, Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave, Swalpa Punya Vatam Rajan Vishvasho Navajayate. Verse from the Skanda Purana. We should always recite that, either out loud or silently or quietly to ourselves before we take prasad. Because those persons who do not have sufficient sukriti, bhakti sukriti, spiritual pious credits, cannot understand the glories of the Lord's name or his Mahaprasadam, nor can they understand the glories of the Vaishnavas. They don't have faith in these things. When we take prasadam, we sing. Oh, this sounds just like Jaiva Dharma. When Brajanath and Vijay Kumar sponsored a big feast when they were taking initiation from Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj. So when we take prasad, we sing, oh, sadhu, be careful. Don't overeat, and don't eat with a mentality for personal enjoyment. They were blissfully taking prasad, very beautifully prepared, very opulent, very wonderful. This feast that had been collected and brought by Brajanath. And of course, it had been offered to the deities there, and everyone was enjoying transcendently, and they were taunting each other like that. Oh, this is such nice prasad. Don't overeat now. Mahaprasadam is so rare. When Srimati Parvati Devi and Shankara honored Mahaprasadam, they began to dance. Do not eat, but rather honor prasadam. Do not chant the holy name, but rather serve the holy name. Do not listen to Harikatha, rather serve Harikatha. Serve prasadam and Harikatha with faith and respect for their transcendental identity. This is bhajan. What's the difference between, like, say, chanting the holy name and serving the holy name? Chanting the holy name, pick up our beads. All right, time to do my rounds. Got to chant my rounds. Just grind them out, right? Grind out my rounds. But serving the holy name means every time I'm uttering Hare Krishna, I'm thinking of Radha and Krishna, and I'm praying that I can somehow chant the name purely to give them joy. Because Krishna and his name are non-different. Right? And pure devotees in this world, they serve continually in their chanting. They are linked with Radha and Krishna in their chanting of the holy name, and they're giving great pleasure. They are with Radha and Krishna. Their pastimes are being revealed in their heart at every moment. It's an extraordinary experience. So when we chant, we should try to cultivate that attitude of serving, of worshiping, of honoring that sacred name that's non-different from Sri Krishna. Right? Nama Chintamani Krishnas, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Right? Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Binatva Namanamino. Just careful. And so a lot of our chanting, we're just grinding it out, maybe not paying attention. But if from time to time we can begin to think in this higher way, then step by step the anarthas will fall away, namabhas will become prominent, and then at one point, Shuddhanam will arise. And then we begin to gallop in our bhakti. Right? So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, do not meditate on good things to eat or wear. There are 6 enemies. And by not meditating on nice eating and dressing, these enemies, like lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, and enviousness, can be controlled. If you do not try to control these pushings, you will not be able to progress in your bhajan. So there's the clue. You try, right? Lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, enviousness, those things which pervade that we fight against every day. One who controls these pushings can become a bona fide spiritual master. Now, here's a question posed by this Ramachandra Prabhu from Delhi. He, under Gurudev's instruction, he oversaw the building of the Delhi temple. Really nice devotee, very wonderful devotee. Been with Srila Gurudev for so long. You are saying that by performing bhajan, we will be able to be rid of all these anarthas. But on the other hand, you are saying that unless and until we are able to control these pushings, we cannot progress in bhajan. This seems like contradictory statements. How can we reconcile this? So, he says that bhajan rids you of anarthas, but if you have anarthas, how can you do bhajan, real bhajan? Right? How do you reconcile that? How does it begin? Because as long as you're filled with anarthas, how can you do the bhajan? It's blocking you, right? So Srila Narayana Maharaj says, Srimad Bhagavatam explains that Mother Jashoda made great efforts to tie her son Krishna, But Krishna would not allow himself to be bound until he himself desired to be bound. We see that without Krishna's mercy, Mother Yashoda was unable to bind him. So why did she try? Yashoda had made a vow, I will definitely bind him today. It is not that the Supreme Lord's mercy will appear just anywhere. By his mercy, anything is possible. Yet, his mercy dawns when, from the devotee's heart's internal desire, that devotee makes the endeavor and thinks, I will do it, even if I have to leave my body to do so. If one has determination like this, then the Lord's mercy will surely come to that person. Somehow I will do my service, sometime I will champ my rounds. No obstacle. I won't accept any obstacle. Right? Even though I'm unqualified, I'm not fit, it seems like I'll never get there, but the determination. There's a story where Narad Muni was walking along the riverbank, and he saw a sage who was meditating under a tree. It was like a big, I don't know what kind of tree, maybe like a banyan, really big, just leaves, branches everywhere, one of those massive trees. And the sage saw Narad Muni, and he said, oh, Narad, you often go to Vaikuntha. Please, next time you go, please ask Lord Narayana when I will be delivered, right? And be able to go to his lotus feet. And Narad Muni said, okay, you're such a nice sage, so sincere, so pure. So he went to Vaikuntha. And there he saw, and he said, oh, I have one question. When I was down here, and you can see him down there on the earth, there's that sage under the tree. And he asked me when he will attain your lotus feet. And Lord Narayana said, oh, well, because doing meditation, it can be a very time-consuming process. He says, as many lifetimes as there are leaves on that tree, that's how long it will take. And Narayana Muni went, so he didn't go back there. He didn't go back. He just couldn't give that news. But somehow one day he found himself, he just, forgot. He walking by that place, and there was a sage. Oh, Narad Muni! Oh, have you been to Vaikuntha? Did you ask the Lord when I will be with him? And Narad Muni is not going to lie. He says, yes. What did he say? Well, he said, as many lifetimes as there are leaves on this tree, that's how long it will take. And just winced. And the sage started dancing jubilantly. And he said, why are you dancing? He's accepted me. One day I will be with the Lord. No matter how long it takes, I will be with him. He's accepted me. Joy! He was so happy. And then all of a sudden, Garuda flies down with Lord Narayana on top and takes him back. I don't know if Lord Narayana was with him, but Garuda comes down, takes him to Vaikuntha. So Narad Muni goes back to Vaikuntha after some time and says, hey, why did you tell me that it was going to take that many lifetimes when you just brought him up right then? He said, well, that's what it was supposed to be. But he had so much greed and so much selfless love, I just could not help it. When he showed that, no matter what obstacle that he's still my devotee, he could have said, all right, well, what's the use of meditating? I'm going to get married for a few lifetimes, It's going to take, tens of thousands of lifetimes anyway. But he was undeterred in his love, and so I came. So we should try, and seeing our efforts, the Supreme Lord's mercy will manifest, and all unwanted things will be removed from our lives. By our own efforts alone, God's mercy won't necessarily be there. Both things are necessary. Do you understand? If you think that his mercy will come for whatever you want, no matter how you are behaving, this is incorrect thinking. Both our endeavor and his mercy are needed. According to Srila Rupa Goswami, there are 6 impediments to the performance of bhakti. It's what we heard the other day. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha jana sangascha lolyam cha sadbir bhaktir vinashyati. A sadhak should be careful. Atyahara means to eat too much or to collect material sense objects for the satisfaction of the senses, right? To eat too much or collect material sense objects more than necessary for one's maintenance. Do not collect more than necessary, only collect what is needed. A family person needs to collect to maintain his family, but he should not collect too much. One should not be excessive. If day and night he is only working for money, his bhajan will be spoiled. But he is allowed to engage in material business for maintaining his family in order to perform sadhana and bhajan. Keep it simple, sadhu. KISS, K-I-S-S, right? Keep it simple, sadhu. Right? However, those who are in the renounced order are not at all permitted to engage in materialistic worldly enterprises for their maintenance. We can see how the 6 Goswamis and our disciplic succession of spiritual masters have spent their lives. We should follow their example. Right. When we went to Bangalore, Gurudev instructed us to open up a temple preaching center, and we did, and we went back to see him, and we approached him and said, "Oh, we're in Bangalore. This is the incense capital of the world. Devotees all over the world are asking us to sell them incense so that they can sell it at tables and things and make money for their livelihood." And he said, and we thought, well, this is simple. It's, Srila Prabhupada set spiritual sky, the incense business. Could we do that? And he said, no. I don't want my brahmacharis and sannyasis doing any business. None. Just preach. Right? And so we didn't. We didn't do it. And we just preached. And then some years later, another devotee had been in Bangalore, and he went to do a project, and he collected money. But in his project, he wanted to emulate the model of many mats or institutions in India where there'll be some spiritual group and they have a school and an orphanage and cows and a clinic and all these things, right? Charitable work. And we were just living in a little raggedy place doing book distribution Harinam every day. And Gurudev said to him, he said, well, these activities, it's not really Shuddha Bhakti. We do these things to cheat the government, and then they're favorably disposed to us. But he said to me, but what you're doing, this book distribution and this Harinam, this is, Srup Siddha Bhakti. This is really pure Bhakti, because this is preaching, it's chanting the holy name. This is really what we want. This is really the activity, especially for brahmacharis and sannyasis. And yet, in some Gaudiya mats, there's some business, but you see how they're done. It's very closely connected to the mat. Like they might have some farmland, and they might farm it, or they might lease it out to some farmer and collect money that way. Or they might have a guest house, and somebody will run it. But usually, it's not some brahmachari. It's usually some older guy that was a business guy, and then, he's allowed to live in the mat, and that kind of person takes care of it. But brahmacharis, they are best served by just strictly not being involved in worldly things, right? It's not favorable, even though you're dovetailing them. You'll be associating with materialistic persons and thinking about, shillings and pounds, dollars and cents. It's too close to material activity, right? So we can be fulfilled, maintained, supported very nicely by the spiritual activities. Even if it's not growing at the rate that we would like, Krishna has a plan. And the main thing is our purity and our bhakti, and that will attract the right kind of people who will help us in all the other kind of endeavors. And then those kind of people who are inclined, then they may come at some point, and help with the organization and management of these other things. But in the mat, you always want to maintain a very high, strict environment, right? It's all about mat. What does mat mean? What's the difference between a mat and a temple? A temple is a place where people come, they offer some incense, give some money, and they ask Thakurji for something. Oh, give me this, give me that, right? And then they go away. A mat is a place where devotees live to cultivate spiritual education, to practice bhakti, and those who come, they teach them that. You're creating a culture and an environment. That's Gaudiya Mat. That's what was established by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. That's what our Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada did. That's what Srila Gurudev did in his mats. You should hear what some of the other acharyas, like Bhakti Sri Rupa Siddhanti, how strict he was. Bhakti Dayata Madhav, and then Bhakti Balabhatirtha Maharaj, Bhakti Pramod Puri, so strict in those environments, right? Prayasas means over endeavor. Don't endeavor for anything other than bhakti. If you show your hand to an astrologer and he tells you how much wealth you are due, this is an obstacle to your bhakti. Do not do these things. Do not do anything that is opposed to bhakti, especially taking advice from astrologers who have no understanding of the aim and object of our Vaishnava tradition. These things will spoil your bhakti. Many astrologers give Nishringa Kavacha and take money in exchange for this. Do not do these things. I could tell some terrible stories about people giving advice from astrology. It's not like astrology isn't a real science, but most people are unqualified to really practice it properly. And those who practice it, they don't necessarily know how to align it with bhakti. It's like a weather report. Done properly, it can tell you about things that are going to happen, and you might take precautions and all, but it doesn't govern your bhakti. It doesn't govern your bhakti. It may assist you. You use it as an assistance, but not as the main control, not by any means at all. So Ramachandra says, what if we give Nishringa Kavacha and don't take money? Gurudev says, no need. The Maha Mantra can provide whatever is needed for our progress in bhakti. Jana Sangha in this verse means the association of materialists. Don't take the association of materialists. Don't enter into discussions with them or listen to what they have to say. Don't enter into gossip. Materialists are people that don't practice bhakti. Don't live amongst people that don't practice bhakti, right? Don't associate with them. Don't take guidance or instruction from them, right? You become like them. The soul is like a crystal. Whatever color it's put up next to it takes on that color. Our inclination, we've been materialists for so long that can awaken very easily and quickly in that kind of association. I saw Gurudev warn devotees so many times about their association, and sometimes when they didn't take it, they fell away, even though they're very nice people. You don't want to be in that association. The Maha Mantra can give you everything that's needed, individually, collectively, for your seva. Take shelter of that. This is our movement. Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalam. Right? The only way. Kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva. Loyam refers to distractions to bhakti, like sometimes adopting the path of karma, jnana, or yoga. Right? Oh, let's have a big yoga festival and invite people here, and even though they're not devotees, well, if they practice yoga and then they see us and we can tell them about the mantra a little bit, maybe they'll become devotees. But why are they coming? They're coming for yoga, right? So you have to be very careful. Sometimes people can dovetail these things, but you have to be a very strong devotee to do that, right? More powerful. Otherwise, you'll be afflicted by the qualities of these yogis, karmis, and gyanis. Niyamagraha. And the above verse means following rules and regulations fanatically without understanding, right, for the wrong reasons, right? Just I gotta do this, but not understanding the underlying principle of it. And so it might not even be favorable, what you're trying to do. Or not following at all. He gives an example. Perhaps you've taken a vow. I will chant 100,000 names. I will perform Dandavat Parikram around Govardhan. It may be that you have some desire for these things and that you are trying. However, if you are following your vow to chant 100,000 holy names and you neglect to offer your obeisance to Srila Gurudev when he enters the room, then your bhakti will be spoiled. If you are doing archan on the altar, deity worship arti, of the deities, and your Gurudev enters the temple, and you don't stop your archan to offer him obeisance and attend to him if required, this is niyamagraha. If you are speaking harikatha to an audience and your Gurudev enters the place where you are speaking and you don't stop speaking in order to offer him obeisance and so on, that is niyamagraha. I've seen Premananda Prabhu, he will stop his katha when any older devotee will come in. He'll stop, he'll offer obeisance, offer them a seat. He shows that etiquette. Even though he may be senior to them, right, he still shows that etiquette. Do not be friends with materialists, Mayavadis, and those who are attached to the association of the opposite sex. It may be that you have to associate, but it should be in a detached manner. Who would have to associate? Householders, because they have jobs, they have family members, right? And so there are situations, it's described in Jaiva Dharma as well, where that interaction is required. But don't be attached to it. Be detached. And don't mix your bhakti with them. If you want to be close to someone, this should be with Vaishnavas. And who's Vaishnavas? Those who are practicing. People that, satam prasangam mamavirya samvido, bhavanti hrikarna rasayana kata, najoshana rashva pavarga vartmani, shraddharatir bhaktir anukamishati. That verse that I couldn't remember, it just popped in my head. I had to say it so I didn't forget it. But that's what it is. It's satam prasangam, associating with the satams, the saintly persons, prasangam. What will happen? Bhavanti hirkarna rasayana kata. It gives great happiness to the ears and to the heart to hear their kata, to be with them. Right? If you want to be close with someone, it should be a Vaishnav. You should also find out whether or not that Vaishnav is pure. Is he affectionate towards you? Is he in the same spiritual mood as you? By taking the association of materialists and Mayavadis, one's intelligence will be spoiled. Be very careful about this. We should examine our bhakti to see if it is increasing, decreasing, or it has stopped. If it has stopped, then we should see what is the main cause. If it is decreasing, then we should see why and try to stop doing the things that are causing it to decrease. If it is increasing, then that is very good, and we should continue all our favorable activities. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Okay. So that was Gurudev's lecture. I thought it very appropriate because he's speaking about the things that we've been talking about in this Bhajan Rahasya and this chapter. And at the end there are footnotes which define, once again, those four kinds of anarthas. Sarup Brahm, Asat Trishna, Aparad, Hridar Darbalya, and the four subdivisions of those. So, with great gratitude, we offer our obeisance to our beloved Gurus, to our Srila Prabhupada, to our Srila Gurudev, to all the assembled Vaishnavas, Vaishnavis. Pray that we stay on this path, appropriately on this path of pure bhakti, and follow these very wonderful guidelines. Okay. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.